Almighty and loving God, we thank you for all of our blessings, the many that we recognize, as well as the many more that we don't. Thank you especially for the union of these two best friends and this gathering of family and friends, which will always be a memory they'll cherish. And Lord, bless this food which we're about to eat and our lives to thy service. In thy name we pray, amen.
So I've had the pleasure of knowing Liz for the past 12 years, and through that time we've become so much more than just friends. We've become family. She's a sister I never had, but always wanted. Through those years, we've been through a fair share of ordeals, a lot of shenanigans, but I wouldn't change a second of it. We've had amazing road trips, even more amazing dance parties, and the fun of deciphering each other's less than sober voicemails before the advent of text messaging. Liz, I'll always be able to find you with just a garbled hint of green flowers. I've realized also that no therapy session will ever be as good as our weekend mornings at Huddle House, where a green pepper omelet and a country ham plate could cure all of our problems, and more importantly, our hangovers. Liz is one of the kindest, smartest, most fun-loving people I've ever met. It's no surprise that Scott felt the same way when he met Liz. I remember the first time that I met Scott, St. Patrick's Day in Boston, a day which ended in an epic dance party to the sounds of the outfield. I knew he was a keeper. It's been a long, long, long time coming for this day. But I couldn't be happier that it's finally here. I love you both. Congratulations. To the bride and groom.
All right, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Sean, and Scotty and I have been friends, good friends, for the past 13 years. But to me, Scotty's been more than a friend. He's been like an older brother. Almost any time we go somewhere, people always ask, are you guys brothers? And even though we weren't, we still treat each other like family. With Scotty being the older brother, I would always ask him for advice, whether it was about school, golf, bars, country music, or especially fantasy football. Scotty was always the first person I called. And most importantly, he was always there. No matter what time of day or the question I had, Scotty was there to help. Unless the question had something to do with construction or home improvement, then I would just ask if Liz was home and if I could get her. Scotty and Liz are two of the most dedicated, unselfish, and organized people I know. Not only did they make time for each other, but they make time for everyone else first. They would walk, run, drive, fly, or even canoe to see a friend, go to a game, go to a wedding, or most of all, go to a party. There's no doubt that these two don't enjoy a good time. Liz, I know that you will continue to be Scotty's rock, as you have been for these years. I know with your love and support, Scotty believes he can accomplish almost anything. Like maybe one day getting that hole-in-one, or changing a light switch without her help, or even do the impossible and win the Mercedes Open. And Scott, you have proven to me to be a wonderful friend, brother, cousin, and son. And I know that you will be nothing but a wonderful husband to Liz. It is my duty to give a little bit of advice for this marriage. Love one another, and you will be happy. It's as simple and as difficult as that. And if anyone here is up for whatever, then grab a Bud Light in honor of Scott and Liz. Hold on, I gotta look. To a lifetime of love and happiness. Cheers. Cheers.
I've already been introduced to you. I'm the FOB. That could today be the friend of Beaverbrook. Okay. What do you think of this place? Is it all right? All right? Good, good. All right. I thought I was going to be the first one blabbering, but apparently I wasn't. So, oh yeah, that's okay. Thank you. Thank you. Sharp crowd, or at least one of them. But I am the father of the bride. And I feel somewhat obligated to introduce myself to you, though, because in reviewing the guest list, and with my rudimentary calculations, 86% of the people here today, I don't know. I have no clue who you are, okay? That's okay. But I also read an article recently that said for every 100 persons at a reception, 3.75 of them are wedding crashers. Which means there's a high likelihood that even Scott and Liz don't know about 7.5 of you here. So, anyway. But to all of you, high school friends, Clemson friends. Clemson! All right. You're going to sing later, guys. You know that. Save your voices. Neighbors, family, wedding crashers, whoever, welcome. And thank you for joining us today to celebrate Liz and Scott's wedding. When planning a large event like this, you want it to go off without a hitch, but in this case, I think we're all very glad that the hitch has taken place, finally. Liz, I want to reiterate what the other gentleman said. Your best man said how beautiful you look, and I want you to know how happy your mother and I are for you and Scott. So, and for the prodigious amount of time, effort, and creativity you put into planning and constructing this very special event. Incredible, certainly worthy of our applause. Wonderful job. It's particularly amazing to see so many friends who have come from such great distances. Jenny from Connecticut got here late because of car trouble. Closest person here, but got here late. No offense, Jenny. No. Brian from Ohio, Matt from Georgia, Lowry from New Orleans, Joey and his wife from South Carolina, Jeff from Colorado, Jen from Washington State, Hillary and Jake, as well as Jody from Arizona, and Kate and Linwood from Alaska. Linwood is serving in our country as an Army Ranger, and thank you for your service. Absolutely. Absolutely. Correct me if I'm wrong, Linwood, but you would be in Kosovo right now had you not suffered an injury in combat, where you broke your leg in 4 places on the gridiron, just so that you could be here with us today. That truly is service, Linwood. And Linwood's brother-in-law, Ted, tried to outdo him by arriving here from Ireland. Welcome back stateside, Ted. Even their parents, Roger and Helen Loney, are here with us today from South Carolina. It seems appropriate that when their family is spread out as far as they are, New Hampshire is the most appropriate place to meet. Welcome aboard to all of you. Truly an incredible testimony to the power of friendship. Obviously, while there are great distances between you, nonetheless, you are all very close to Liz and Scott. And what a wonderful gift it is to Liz and Scott that you've traveled so far and long to celebrate this occasion. Thank you for bringing them some additional joy to this day. But we must pause for a moment to remember the loved ones, both family and friends, who would be here but are no longer with us. Liz's grandparents, Mimi and Grump Weaver, and Mimi and Grandpa Davies and Ray Squire, Scott's Nana and Donkey Conley, Grandma and Grandpa Card, Liz's Uncle Billy Davies and Aunt Jan Fulmer, and family friends Steve Prest, Brian Spence, and Tim Quinn. Their spirits are undoubtedly with us, and like us, I'm sure they're smiling on this joyous occasion. Now, as Tonda can attest, and for the 86% of you that don't know me and probably don't know her as well, she's the MOB, the most outstanding beauty, and mother of the bride. I've been ruminating about this speech ever since Liz informed me that it was customary to be delivered by the father of the bride. You see, all my public speaking has been done at company retirement celebrations where I would roast the guest of honor. Now, no one has ever asked me to speak at a wedding or a funeral or any other place where one's remarks should be restricted to the positive. So you can see my dilemma. I mean, you can't roast your daughter on her wedding day. Or can you? Liz, they say that the two keys to a good speech are levity and brevity. Well, my dear, you'll be getting neither from me today. After all, your mother and I and all your friends have been waiting over 9 years for you to settle down with your Prince Charming. So I think you can bear with me for the next 45 or 50 minutes. And I have to admit that part of the reason this speech is 39 pages long is because I've had to set the font at 24, which probably wouldn't have been necessary had you tied the knot before I needed bifocals. For years now, Liz, on countless occasions, I have unintentionally embarrassed you. And I'm sorry. I just want you to know that tonight will be different. Tonight it's intentional. From a very early age, our bride developed a propensity to raise her voice. When Elizabeth was very young, she could not say her name. After all, it is 4 syllables. So she called herself Edie, which was her initials. And she was a little stubborn. No surprise. Not letting anyone do anything for her. Sound familiar? She would repeatedly yell, "Edie, do it! Edie, do it!" And in that vein, on her first airplane flight, when her ears were blocked up and we couldn't get her to stop yelling, she was yelling, "I can't talk! I can't talk!" And more than once, when I was reading a bedtime story to her, she threw me under the bus by yelling, "Mom, Dad's falling asleep." It was a bedtime story, I mean. So Scott, my advice to you is 1, let Edie do it. 2, be patient with her when she can't talk. And 3, don't fall asleep when you're speaking to her. Scotty. Intelligent, talented, good-looking, kind, thoughtful, generous, a born leader. But enough about Liz, let's talk about you. Sorry, buddy, it was low-hanging fruit. What can I say? Scott is pretty special, I gotta tell you. I mean, look at him. He's good-looking, comes from a great family, has a good job. Yeah, take a look at him. Obviously a hell of a dancer, absolutely. He is great at all sports, darn near a scratch golfer, has hundreds of friends, only 2 of which had to be bailed out to be here today. He's a competitor and a winner. After all, he won my daughter's heart and hand. But to show you what a competitor he is, look at the wedding party and consider that Liz had 7 bridesmaids and he had 8 groomsmen. You won, Scotty. You won, baby. Scott wanted me to apologize on his behalf to the 15 other friends here today who he was unable to have as groomsmen. There simply wasn't enough room at the front of the church, and gentlemen's warehouse had already run out of the gray suits they would have had to wear. Besides, to keep pace, Liz may have had to dig into the pool of wedding crashers to staff her side of the aisle. Jack and Barbara Conley, thank you so much for raising such a fine young man and encouraging him to share his life with our daughter. You've done a wonderful job, and it's an honor to have you, our families joined in this way. Now, I have a confession to make. When I get emotional, I cannot stop the tears from flowing. And it's embarrassing, not just for Liz. I well up in tears when singing "Oh Beautiful for Spacious Skies," and I cried when Scott drove up here, woke me up from my afternoon nap, which incidentally I'm missing today, and asked me for Liz's hand in marriage. A very classy thing to do, Scott. I didn't expect it from you, but your parents obviously raised you right. But I even start to blubber when the Clydesdale runs to greet his original owner in the Budweiser commercial. So, when Liz's brother Jonathan was born at Danbury Hospital and I was in the delivery room, I cried at the miracle of human birth and realizing the awesome responsibility of mine as the father of a new life. I cried. A son to carry on the family name, and because both he and Tonda were healthy, I cried. When we discovered later that his name that we gave him means gift of God, and because it just doesn't get any better than that, I cried. Well, 2.5 years later, in a delivery room in Providence, I realized I was wrong. It could get better, and it did get better. No offense, John. The miracle of human birth again. This time we had a daughter, the perfect addition to our family, and I cried. A royal family, a boy and a girl. Again, both Tonda and our baby were healthy. I cried. A new and different life. Maybe she'd be just like Tonda or my mother or my sister. I cried. And visiting tea parties and playing house and protecting her from the evil of the world, I cried. The thought of hugs and pigtails spoiling her rotten, and someday walking her down the aisle, I cried. Imagine that, not 2 minutes into the world and each of my kids were already making their old man cry. The first of many times, mostly with joy. And I expect to cry as much when we share the father-daughter dance as I will when I get the bill for this event. Scott, I've seen you play with your niece Samantha and with other children at your family gatherings, and like your brother Stephen, you will someday be a wonderful father. If you're ever lucky enough to be blessed with a daughter, and I hope you will, it's obvious that you will love, protect, and cherish her just as every dad does his little girl. And when that happens, Scott, I just want you to remember that your wife is our little girl. And someday you'll have to give her away. God bless.